Let's begin the news by telling you it's Workers' Day today, Thursday, and Nigerian workers are joining their counterparts worldwide to mark the 2025 May Day celebrations. Labour unions across the country are using the day to raise fresh concerns over the state of the Nigerian worker, demanding a review of the 70,000 naira minimum wage. Now, state chapters of the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, and the Trade Union Congress, TUC, have expressed deep dissatisfaction with the condition of Nigerian workers, calling for an urgent upward review of the current 70,000 naira minimum wage. Their demands come amid growing economic hardship, which they say has worsened under President Bola Tinubu's administration, despite promises to provide not just a minimum wage, but a living wage. Senate President Godswill Akpabio, in his May Day address, assured workers that both the legislative and executive arms would not shy away from their responsibilities, pledging continued collaboration to improve workers' welfare. The unions argue that since the removal of the petrol subsidy and the naira's devaluation in May 2023, the cost of living has skyrocketed, triggering waves of protests nationwide.
In the FCT Area Council, we are not happy. I am saying we are not happy because our entitlement, minimum wage, peculiar allowance, name them, the government are insensitive to apply to the FCT Area Council. They don't pay us our entitlement. Pension deduction, they will deduct pension and they will not pay it to our appropriate quarter. So it's quite alarming. We are not happy in FCT Area Council.
Keep working hard. Despite the daunting economic challenges, let's keep working hard. Let's keep putting up our best for the growth and betterment of the country. I believe the head of civil service organization is trying so hard to improve on the welfare of workers. And we hope all the measures he has put in place come to fruition so that workers can be able to reap the fruit of his labor while still in active service.
The thing we will do today is to make Nigeria happy. We can't run and tag our president with full support to be saying long may you reign. But we still ask for the Nigeria, we ask, make it help us. We will not get road. Because if we work as well, we follow road, we will not get road. It's to help us and make the road be better. It's to help us and make Nigeria to be better.
It's a glorious day. My short message is just for our President Ashwaji Bola Tinubu to take the issue of worker welfare very, very important. We have been loyal to him, to his government, and he should reciprocate by giving us our welfare and our package, and to inspire us to perform. You understand? So the issue of minimum wage, you settle it. The issue of just like the circular that was issued by the HGF 2 days ago, that they're going to be paid the balance of minimum wage installment. It is not good. You should pay it in full so the worker will be happy.
Correspondent Joshua Marai joins us from Eagle Square in Abuja for updates on how workers are celebrating the May Day events. Joshua, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us here on the news today. So it's D-Day, it's May Day. How has the day gone for workers in Abuja? If you'll please tell us, how happy are they?
Good afternoon, Mazino. I am live at the Eagle Square in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Here the May Day celebration took in full swing. As you can see on my right-hand side, are the workers in their march past. This is another activity that characterizes the May Day celebration across the country. You can see them in all glee, all smiles, all happy. This is the only day that workers perceive they are celebrated in Nigeria, and they are seizing every breathtaking moment of it to voice their opinion, to voice their concerns and their grievances. Now, this year's May Day celebration was christened Reclaiming the Civic Space in the Midst of Economic Hardship. Now, earlier on, the leaders of the organized labor actually gave some addresses, and top of their demands are that the federal government should immediately reinstate democratic rule in River State. Well, this is connected to their theme and the christening of this year's celebration. They made other demands that I may take you through. Now, the same organized labor are calling on the federal government to urgently end what they describe as genocidal killings and bloodletting across several parts of the country. This is one of their demands. They are saying that the killing in several parts of the country needs to end. The bloodshed in several parts of the country needs to end. And also, they ask the federal government to immediately withdraw the tax bill before the National Assembly to allow workers, Nigerian workers particularly, to put in their input. They are saying that most of the tax reform bills before the National Assembly does not have the voices of Nigerian workers, and they are saying that if this if they should allow it to fly, it will allow big corporations, the rich ones in the Nigerian society, off the hook. They are also saying that the Nigerian government should match up the wages, the salaries of Nigerian workers to commensurate the current economic realities. These are so many of the concerns that have been made, and it is resounding loud and clear.
Joshua, one last question regarding the mood of the workers there, especially taking a look at the economic situation that we find ourselves. Are they also pointing to this as part of the reasons why they're out there marching today? Are they talking about the way the country is economically?
In my own time, I had the opportunity of conversing with so many of them. They are saying that the current realities of the country does not guarantee civil servant Nigerian workers across the private sectors to live the life worth living. They are saying their take-home salary is not taking them home anymore. They are saying they need a revisiting of this salary, wages and structure to be revisited by the federal government. Most of them are saying that even at the pinnacle of being a director of civil society being a director on the civil service does not guarantee them a life worth living, only if they have to steal, and most of them, they don't have those opportunities, and most of them, they are saying that they don't want to steal public funds. They just want commensurate social intervention that will ease the burden of living in Nigeria.
We will be coming back to you for more details regarding the celebrations as it happens in Abuja. Thank you very much, Joshua. Now moving on, in solidarity with their counterparts across Nigeria, workers in Delta State, South Nigeria, observed this year's Workers' Day celebration in Asaba, the Delta State capital. This year's Workers' Day theme is reclaiming the civic space in the midst of economic hardship. It provided the Nigeria Labour Congress, the Trade Union Congress, a chance to lobby for better welfare packages for their members. The occasion featured an array of events that made the day memorable.
Accommodation in the state capital and across the state generally has become a challenge for workers. Some years back, the junior and middle management quarters, popularly known as junior staff, was built for workers to be able to solve their accommodation challenge. But now, they have almost pursued workers out of the state capital. Some of us are coming from work as far as Akpo, Iseluku, Ila, Upolu, Ogwashuku, Ibuzo. And it is not as if houses are cheap there.
The issue of low-cost houses for workers, let me assure Delta workers that this matter will be looked into seriously by the government, because everything you have said is true. We feel the pain that our workers feel, and this government will not just sit down and watch workers suffer. So the issue of housing will be seriously looked into. The insecurity on the land, the government is doing everything possible to ensure that Delta remain one of the safest places to live in. And I'm glad that as it is today, even with the few shortcomings, Delta State is one of the most peaceful states in this country. We know that insecurity is a national issue, but Delta State is doing whatever it can to keep us safe.
Meanwhile, in Rivers State, the sole administrator, retired Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas, has reaffirmed his commitment to improving the welfare of workers across the state. This assurance was given during a meeting with the leadership of organized labor unions held at the Government House in Port Harcourt. According to a statement issued by the Senior Special Advisor on Media to the Administrator, Hector Ibiki Oubo, The meeting served as a platform for open and constructive dialogue on critical labor matters. The statement outlined key areas of intervention currently being addressed by the government. These, he said, included the timely payment of salaries and pensions, as well as the resolution of salary arrears, with approval already granted for the payment of newly employed workers at the River State University Teaching Hospital and the judiciary. Still on matters regarding Workers' Day, we now return to Abuja, where we have our new central correspondent, Aishat Salihu, who's also going to give us updates on the celebrations in Abuja. Aishat, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Please, if you will, can we have your update on the way the celebrations are happening in Abuja?
Thank you so much, Mazino. So today, it's been a lot going on at the Eagle Square here in Abuja. There has been lots of celebration, parade and all of that, with different workers' union gathering to, just celebrate themselves. Today is Workers' Day, May Day. This is like the only day they have to, to converge, celebrate themselves and talk about the issues they are facing. But on the sidelines of today, it's past 3 now. A lot of people have retired for the day. They are done with their activities today. If you can see right behind me, you would notice that most of the workers, they are now returning home because they are done for their activities for today. It was quite a lot for them. On the sidelines of the event, I also saw some of the workers who were in the spirit of unity. They were sharing food, sharing drinks, because today is just one of those days they have to, come out together, even though it's a public holiday. But then today, the spirit of Nigeria's day would even surprise you to know that, adding to the fact that the salaries are yet to be paid, because I heard from some people who were complaining that although salaries are yet to be paid, but the spirit is still strong, they are still very much resilient to, join the celebration. And then also on the sidelines of the event, we have vendors who are here, and they have seen a little bit of boost from the patronage in their businesses today. The Eagle Square is a host for many vendors. You can see people who sell caps, people who sell clothing, people who sell shoes, people who sell food items and other things. But they have seen a little bit of a boost from their activities, their sales today for their businesses. And everyone is still in the spirit of the May Day celebration. They're still very much resilient, and they are hopeful that their concerns would be brought to the fore, and the government would listen to their concerns and then attend to most of their demands. And just before I let you go, I have someone here who would want to also state the mood for today. He wants to share what he feels today from their union. If you'd indulge me, please, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Can I have your full name and what you do, please?
Okay, my name is Noido. I'm a civil servant. I work with the Ministry of Defense.
So today is May Day. What's been the mood of the celebration? What were your demands today?
Okay, well, the mood has been so quite exciting. You can see people are happy, despite the fact that 80% have not received their salary. But we can see that people are so excited, and they are happy for the May Day, because it's a day that they are celebrating their service to their fatherland, and their commitment to their work. And today is being marked as Workers' Day. You see everybody is so excited, so happy to show that solidarity, that they are part of the celebration. And well, the mood has been quite okay. So from my experience, yeah.
Well, you have heard from him. Just like I stated earlier, they are very much still resilient, regardless of the fact that salaries are yet to be paid. He did mention that 80% of the salaries are yet to be paid for the month of April. So, well, that's the mood at the Eagle Square today.
Aisha, thank you very much. It's good that you're covering this. We'll be coming back to you for more on the details regarding May Day and maybe the matters that were discussed therein. Thank you, Aisha. Now let's go on a break, and when we come back, group calls for a middle belt security outfit similar to Amotekun. We'll bring you the details after the break. Stay with us. And you're welcome back. Now, a coalition of leaders of thought from Nigeria's Middle Belt say a failure by government to protect their region could eventually destroy the country. The coalition, comprising more than 77 civil society organizations, including religious leaders, victims groups, and also community advocates, gathered under the Middle Belt Concern platform for a virtual assessment of the state of affairs in the region. In a statement signed by co-convener EA Jonathan Ichava and also Kiyitwe Gotum, the coalition decried 2 decades of unchecked violence, accusing successive Nigerian governments, including the current administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, of failing to protect citizens in violation of constitutional and international obligations. They noted the persistent apathy of political elites and security institutions, and condemned the false narratives framing terror attacks as mere communal clashes. Some of the key resolutions at the virtual meeting included Middle Belt Concerns Resolution, demand for immediate government action at all levels to halt the killings, end displacement, and initiate victims' compensation, call for governors to account for the use of security funds, end to victim intimidation and security sector reform, prosecute complicit security officials, and urgently revamp intelligence operations. Regional security framework. Middle Belt governors must urgently establish a regional security network similar to the Southwest's Amotekun. Right to bear arms. Urgent legislative reforms to allow law-abiding citizens in vulnerable communities to arm themselves for self-defense under constitutional rights. Now, we are going to bring on EA Jonathan Ichava, the co-convener of the Middle Belt Concern. She joins us from Abuja. EA, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you very much for having us on.
Great.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon once again. Now, EA, let's begin with the basics. Your group says the killings in the Middle Belt are being misrepresented. What exactly is the real narrative?
The truth of the matter is, for years, for over 2 decades now, we keep hearing the first media, various groups, in as much as we've presented evidence to the contrary, they keep saying these are farmer-header clashes. A clash connotes that 2 groups of equal power, balance of power, 2 groups are armed combatants, have come together and have had a sort of warfare on the battlefield, if you want to say so, or like a gang clash. But what we have seen, and we have seen systematically over the last 2 decades, are genocidal massacres by terrorists, some of them, in fact, by terrorists funded and supported by cattle-rearing interests in this country, basically farming communities in the dead of the night, massacring children and women, defenseless children and women, in the dead of the night, are men too killed, sometimes entire families slaughtered, unarmed civilians who are in their beds asleep at night. That is not what you call a clash. Those are mass atrocities, and we've been tracking them for several years. They come in, destroy crops, kill, they even rip open in some cases, pregnant women's bellies and pull out the babies and kill and even decimate or slaughter, or rather butcher them further. Does that sound like a clash? No. Those are massacres, genocidal massacres. And it is high time, and they are terrorist acts. It is high time we stopped misnaming them. The other poor narrative that we keep hearing, and false, it keeps saying, oh, it is because of climate change. It is because of conflict over resources. This is pure land grab for land, and in many cases, not just for grazing rights, but in many, many cases for the minerals that are under those lands that we do not talk about, and it's about resources. So it's also about a resource control issue. So this is a serious situation, and for many of our rural communities, we have had almost a war-like situation going on.
Think that you should mention these details.
To represent properly.
Now, it's very interesting that you should mention these details, grim as they may be, but then you then touched on the fact that there might be certain elements like minerals involved and land grabbing involved. When we say minerals now, what exactly are we talking about? What kinds of minerals and what parts of lands are being grabbed and by whom specifically?
So what we have seen, I will speak, for example, in some of the communities in the Benue Plateau. So I'll speak for Benue, for example. There's a community in a local government called Kwandi, which is actually sort of southwest of Benue, southeast of Benue, and it's called Kwandi. There's a community there called Moon. Moon, what happened in Moon in the early, I think it was 2013 or 2014, these terrorists came in, killed people, chased off people off the land. A lot of them displaced there in a place called Jatoaka now. And what happened, they took over the land and have been grazing. You can't go back there. If you go to your farm, you are massacred, you are raped, killed. And that's, for example, is a land grab. And those lands have not been returned to the people. And in some cases, and that's just one example. In some cases, there are even drone footage or satellite footage that shows that after these displacing events take place, after these terrorists have displaced the people, they bring in their cattle and they're left to roam free. This is in the face of technology, modern day technology that Nigeria has access to, where they can actually send in drones, see what is going on. They have air power and all that. We've seen one or two instances where they've even gone recently, maybe I think last month, they were able to go and attack, but they go, the authorities will go in, attack and come out. So that's one example. I'll continue with another example. In some parts of Kwandi, where there has been displacement, and in some parts of the plateau, there are mining activities going on. Oh. And what is happening is they send in these terrorists, or these terrorists come in ahead, displace the people, and begin to use some come in with mining and start mining. For example, in Lokande, which happens to also be my local government, there's gold there are gold deposits. In fact, at one time, the state government had to try and stop some of the mining. Now, so those are the kind of things we're talking about.
Are there documented facts to these kinds of activities and these minerals and the specific locations? Documented facts, do we have these?
Absolutely. So, for example, Global Rights, a civil society organization, has been doing some studies around these minings, some of the linkages that we're seeing with these massacres. So these are not strange. Admittedly, this has become a more recent component. Previously, it was merely land grabbing. In fact, the situation with the Moon community I mentioned earlier in Kwandi on the land grab, basically, some civil society groups went to court and took the matter as far as ECOWAS court against the Nigerian federal government. There was a judgment, but as is the character of the Nigerian government, they did not obey the judgment that was given in favor of the victims of those attacks. For them to take action, for them to compensate the victims. I will be happy to come back and talk about those judgments much later. But the records are there in the public domain where the ECOWAS court actually found in favor of those communities.
EA, I definitely would absolutely love you to come back and tell us about these facts and the details. However, now, regarding the interests, have the stakeholders been identified, and why exactly is there no solution? Is the government not aware of these activities, or is it simply a case of interest or just sheer negligence?
It's a combination of both, and basically having a government that seems to not care very much for the people, and even some of the security forces that are serving under it. So I will give you certain examples. say, for example, in 2018, when some of the attacks were even ramping up, there were interests that represented the headers. So we had the Mieti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, who actually came out and were making threats and saying that they had attacked certain communities in reprisal for their cattle being rustled. Now, in any sane society, as far as we know, if you have such a grievance, you basically go to court. You do not go around attacking and carrying out all sorts of attacks. But they made these statements and they made it seem as if they had actually even sent these people. So this is 2018 killings. In actually a report, for example, by Business Day, they said that Mieti claimed responsibility for killings in the plateau, citing that 300 cattle were stolen. This is the killings that there were over 300 people. Now, what they meant by that, it is now the responsibility of the Nigerian government to have put in an investigation and sought to see, what do you mean by you take responsibility? Did you fund these killers to come in? And they'll do that. We also had issues where a situation where we even had a presidential spokesman from the previous administration in General Buhari's administration, who actually said that if we want to save our lives and stop the killings, we should give up the lands for ranching. This was what the spokesman of the Nigerian government at the time basically said. And this is on public record. It was even carried by one of the TV stations. He said this in a TV interview. So I think it is very important for us to understand that these have been documented. Another government official claimed that they imported foreigners to come in and destabilize the previous PDP government in 2015, basically so that they could win elections. These claims were made by some of these people. They've been making these utterances on television. And to our utter shock, the Nigerian government has failed to investigate these claims and to call in these people for proper questioning. And basically, we've even heard reports that when some of these terrorists are found and handed over to security forces, they're taken into certain police stations in Abuja, and the next thing they're set free, and we hear that they say the order came from above. Which above? Now, there are documented instances of this. We're putting them together. Nigerians will be hearing from us, and the world will be hearing from us on these things.
I'm happy.
So back to the federal government should come and tell us is their primary responsibility to protect lives.
Absolutely.
Why they're failing to do this.
Now, EA, this is what we're going to do, EA. It's evident that there's so much more that you need to tell about the instances here that you've told, and we are also very, very curious. In fact, I might be sanctioned for giving you so much time here, but it was worth it. So we will talk more so we can have most of these informations backed by facts on another show, if you do not mind. Thank you very much, EA, for joining us on the news now.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Have a good day.
Now, onward, Maiduguri residents were jolted awake by a series of thunderous explosions emanating from the Giwa Barracks Armory. The blasts caused by high temperatures in Maiduguri, according to the military, which led to the explosions of some munitions, has sent shockwaves throughout the city, which caused widespread panic. News Central's Umaru Kirawa completes the report here.
Initially, a confusing situation for residents of Maiduguri, the Borno state capital. Series of loud explosions reverberated the city, which began late on the last day of April and continued into the few hours of May.
You know, this thing happening just accidental. Nobody knows where the thing starts. When we hear shooting, we say, from where? Let us listen, so that we listen attentively to hear where the sound of the gun is. Now we are inside barrack. I said, if it's inside barrack, how can we do? Now we have to sleep here. But some of my friends, they run and leave me, according to what I tell you first.
To jiya dai duk muna kwance da daddare dai wasu dai suka fara kira na tun kafin abin yayi nisa, irin ya fara tashi kafin lokacin fire service ma ko mota uku ne suka zo. to wasu dai sun kira ni suna ce mun anya ba hari aka kawo ba, na ce kai ni fa ban sani ba, ni ban ji ma me yake faruwa ba saboda ina bacci. To da na tashin da na yi kenan sai na ji karar abin yana ta karuwa, dan da muka fito ta cikin gida ma kana tsaye in ka ji irin wani abu ɗaya ya fashe sai kaga kamar ma kanku kawai zai yi.
Eyewitnesses reported seeing thick plumes of smoke rising from the barracks with debris scattered across nearby neighborhoods.
Rai bundusa lai aulasa hawar fa suru barikin nan zare kare ga nazande na shi mar konno ciza wada da nan me na aka yi do awar obatu bade wono am sura elo bade ada da an de ga na funye na village alan da ni na modani sudin awla su aka yi da awar hamzi ishe na man boye.
Sai mun tashi 12 da rabi ana jama'a mu gudu to ba musamman me yake faruwa ba, sai ka ce mana cikin bariki ba lafiya, to mun dauka boko haram ne ma, sai aka ce a'a sto na kayan yakin su ne ya kama da wuta, to mun ta gudu dai alhamdulillah, mun ji gaba abun ya sauka, mun waye ga cikin koshin lafiya alhamdulillah.
The explosion, according to statement issued by the acting deputy director, Army Public Relations Headquarters Theater Command, was due to the current high temperatures in Maiduguri, which led to the explosion of some munitions. The situation has, however, been brought under control with the combined efforts of the federal and Borno State fire services and other fire trucks from security agencies.
The situation is calm, but authorities advise residents to always verify information before sharing it with others so as to avoid causing panic and tension in the society. From the Giwa Barracks area in Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
And you're welcome back. Now, Kogi Central Senator Natasha Akpoti-Oduaghan has responded to legal demands from senior advocate Olisa Agbakugba, insisting that only the courts can assess her sexual harassment allegations against Senate President Godswill Akpabio. Agbakugba had written to the senator on April 14th, urging her to retract the claim and provide evidence. But in a response dated April 30, Akpoti-Oduaghan denied receiving any such letter. She emphasized that she's refrained from public commentary out of respect for ongoing court cases. One filed by Akpabio's wife demanding 250 billion naira in demands, and another she filed over her suspension from the Senate. The senator says the matter remains sub judice and should be left for the courts to decide. Coming up, Mali's junta chief Assimi Goita wins backing of key political allies to be declared president for the next 5 years. Now the news continues in East Africa, where Kenyan police say the killing of Member of Parliament Charles Ongwa Ondo appears to have been a targeted and premeditated attack. The legislator was shot late Wednesday while in a car on Nairobi's busy Ngong Road. Witnesses say the gunman, riding on a motorbike, opened fire before fleeing. Ware was rushed to Nairobi Hospital but was pronounced dead on arrival. His driver and the passenger were unharmed. Police say investigations are underway and pledge to leave no stone unturned. President William Ruto and opposition leader Raila Odinga, whose party Ware belongs to, both paid tribute, calling him a dedicated public servant. The killing has shocked the nation and raised urgent questions about political violence and security.
We wish to indeed confirm the death of our colleague Honorable Ongondo Were. We were just with him in Parliament a few minutes ago, and shortly after that we got word that he had been shot dead.
There is a way of violence that is creeping up in Homa Bay politics that must be tamed by law enforcement authorities. It has ending in a life gone of a member of parliament who is a servant of the people, and I don't think we are ready to lose any more life.
Malian political parties are speaking out as fears grow over possible dissolution by the ruling military junta. Despite a harsh crackdown on dissent and a rapidly shrinking civic space, opposition voices are growing louder. The junta recently repealed the national charter governing political parties, sparking alarm among legal experts who warn it could pave the way for a total ban. This follows a national consultation held in Bamako, where participants recommended dissolving political parties and tightening rules for forming new ones. However, exiled opposition figure Omar Mariko says Malians fought hard for democracy and won't stand by as it's dismantled. The move marks another step by the junta in consolidating power amid increasing domestic and international concern. South African police have rescued 44 Ethiopian nationals, including 17 minors, from a suspected human trafficking operation on Thursday in Johannesburg's upscale Sandton area. According to police spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Mavela Masondo, officers were alerted by screams coming from the house where the group had been locked in rooms and held against their will. In the meantime, authorities are working with interpreters to learn more as investigations continue. This is the latest in a series of human trafficking cases involving undocumented migrants in South Africa. In recent months, dozens of Ethiopians have been found in similar conditions, some escaping captivity, others discovered during police raids. However, it remains unclear if the cases are connected, but the pattern is raising serious concerns. Today, around the world, workers are celebrating Workers' Day, a day dedicated to honoring the contributions of workers and advocating for workers' rights. But in the streets of Maseru, the capital of Lesotho, the mood is markedly different. Behind the celebrations, many informal workers and traders are expressing a different story, one of hardship and frustration. News Central's Bongani Sisiba has more on this.
A day dedicated to honoring the contributions of all workers, and I am in the streets of Maseru in Lesotho, a country that has faced its fair share of social and economic challenges. However, it's inspiring to see the determination and spirit of self-employed workers who are thriving in the streets. These self-employed traders hustle every day to provide for their families. They wake up each day uncertain of whether their goods will sell, but they continue to show up, embodying the spirit of hard work and perseverance. So I took time to speak to some of these resilient traders to understand what May Day means to them.
I wouldn't say things are that cozy at the moment because of the issues of economic downturn that the world is experiencing now. And again, we've been affected by the hiking of this taxes by introduction of levies and stuff in Lesotho. So this has adversely affected our business a bit negatively.
Bakeng sa gore re ka kgona gore le ma workers day re ka kgona go enjoy re tlameya go lentse re theoetse ga lakatsa but population ya tšhelete ke yone e fokolang haholo e le gore ga e hantle
pana le lona kapa diqholotso ke gore mona mo re sebeletsang teng e hlile mosebetsi ya o sa tshwana le hane pele le montse thao tse fetileng re kgona gore re sebetse empaneng ka moratong covid e bile mathata a tshabang go fihliletse nou tje.
As we can see, the spirit of May Day is alive in the streets of Maseru. For these traders, it's more than just a celebration. It's a recognition of their hard work. In a nation striving economic hurdles, these self-employed workers embody resilience and hope for a better future. Their stories is always a reminder to all workers that even if you face challenges, you must celebrate your resilient pursuit to a better life. From Lesotho, Maseru, for News Central, Bongani Sisiba.
Business Now, International Labour Organization's Director General Gilbert Humbo has called on global policymakers to make decent work, labour rights and inclusive growth key priorities in their economic strategies. Humbo criticized the fragmented nature of current policy approaches and advocated for integrated macroeconomic strategies centered on employment. On Business Edge, Lekan Onabanjo engaged in a discussion with lawyer and public affairs analyst Libora Soshoma, who shared his perspective on the feasibility of prioritizing decent work and labor rights within capitalist economies, where profit-driven policies often take precedence over social considerations. I beg your pardon.
In an environment where there is scarcity, the owners of the employer now observe the rules in breach, and so especially where the rules, the law for consequences are not as strong. They are not as strong. So the little jobs that are available, you find out that the welfare of the worker takes second field. And then the workers themselves, the situation where some persons are, elevated above others, and because of, mind you, scarcity here, because of the positions, you find out that those people who are supposed to also take care of the welfare of their colleagues, become part.
And that's all this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Nigerian labor unions are joining their counterparts worldwide to celebrate International Workers' Day. And suspended Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan has replied Olisa Agbakoba, saying only court can assess her case against Akpabio. We also told you that police in Kenya have said the killings of a member of parliament in Nairobi was an assassination. I do remember you may send your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number on your screens now. And do follow us on social media. We're at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.